about is we haven't been able to do chemistry labs, the ones you've been doing at home. Hopefully they've been okay, but this one is kind of hard to do at home, so I thought I'd do it for you, and then you can solve for it. So today is a titration lab. The purpose of a titration lab is to solve for the unknown molarity of either an acid or a base. So what I do is I have some sulfuric acid, some H2SO4. I'm going to pipette 10 milliliters of it, and then we're going to solve for the molarity of it. The way we're going to solve for the molarity of it is we're going to take some sodium hydroxide, NaOH, which is a base, and we know the molarity of it. I mixed it up, which is 0.1, and we're going to add it to the acid, and then we're going to solve for its molarity. The way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to use something called an indicator. An indicator is phenolphthalein that we're going to use today. I'm going to show you real quick what an indicator does. So I have some of the indicator right here. I'm going to put it inside some acid that I have. You notice when I put it in some acid though, it's just clear. But if I come over here and I take my sodium hydroxide and I add some base to it, it will eventually turn pink. So when it turns pink, that means that it's neutralized and it's actually turned to a base. So that's what we're going to be looking for today. That's what we're going to try and do today, and hopefully this will all work and turn out okay. So I'm just going to clean up a few things here and point it towards my burette. So if you look, this is a burette right here. I've filled it full of the 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide. And if we look right up here at the top, looks like some of it's drained out. But so we start at the top there, and then we're just going to drain some out and see how much is left at the when we're done there. So the first thing we got to do is we're going to come over here. I'm going to fill this Erlenmeyer flask. I'm going to put some acid in it. The way that I'm going to put some acid in it is I'm going to take my pipette and I'm going to suck up some of the acid here with this pipette. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain it out till, and I actually drained a little too much out. Suck a little more up. Got to be a little more careful this time. And so if you look, I'm starting that right at 0. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my Erlenmeyer flask right there. So now what I have in my Erlenmeyer flask, I have exactly 10 milliliters of the sulfuric acid. I'm going to move all that out of the way. I'm going to add a couple of drops of phenolphthalein to it. So now whenever it becomes neutralized, it's going to turn pink. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our phenolphthalein, not our phenolphthalein, we're going to take our sodium hydroxide, and I'm going to scoot that a little closer, and we're just going to go ahead and drain that out. I'll turn it this way so you can see a little better. We're just going to drain it out till it turns pink, and then we'll know it's going to be neutral. So if you see there's a slight pink color there, but when I swirl it, it goes away. That's because it's not neutral yet. So what I'm going to do is just keep adding my base to it, and then we're just going to keep adding just a little bit at a time till it turns all the way pink. And usually when I'm doing this, I'm just swirling it and I'm watching it really close. It's getting really close because when it takes a little bit longer for the pink to go away, then I know I'm close. So I'm going to swirl it. Oh, I'm really close. I only just need a few more drops of it. So I'm slowly going to put a couple of drops in there and swirl it. I only put like 2 drops in there. And I don't know if that's quite enough. Maybe it is. I think I'm going to add 1 more drop to it. All right, so now it's turned pink, so I know that I've neutralized my acid on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at my burette up here and see how much that I've drained out. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up here, look at it real close. So if you see, you can go ahead and read that burette right there and see where it's at, and you read it from the top down, so it's going to be 5 point something, and I'm going to let you go ahead and figure out what that is, 5 point whatever, and then you can go ahead and solve for the molarity from there. So back to the paper that we've written here, about the papers that I had down right here, is this one right here. We had 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide. So you need to read the burette and find out how many milliliters there are by reading the burette I just showed you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to solve for the H2SO4, the molarity of the H2SO4, after you've found out how many milliliters of sodium hydroxide from looking at the burette that I just drained out. So that's how you do that. Hopefully you've watched the tutorial on how to do titrations, and from that you should be able to solve this out, and then you're going to turn this lab in to me with the answer of it.